to the Inspire Wealth podcast with Prof, where we dive into the world of real estate investing and wealth building strategies. I'm your host, Mallory Meehan. I'm a real estate professor, attorney, and seasoned investor here to guide you through the ins and outs of creating wealth through real estate. If you're looking to take your real estate knowledge to the next level, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our latest episodes and offerings. Welcome to another episode of Inspire Wealth. I am your host, Mallory Meehan, aka Prof, and today I'm joined by Casey Franchini. Casey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Mallory. I am so excited to be here today.
Awesome. Well, Casey, I always like to start off asking our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves. So tell us how you got to this real estate journey, and then we'll kind of dive into, what you're up to currently.
Well, it all started back when I was a little girl, to be honest. My dad was an entrepreneur, and I wouldn't say he made it in his entrepreneurial journey. He's in his 70s now, and he never quite got the success that he strived for. But throughout my entire life, he always said, Casey, you have to look the other direction. You have to do what other people are not doing and not follow the herd. He would call it the herd of cows. We lived in California in Orange County, and he would say, do you see the freeway, Casey? Do you see how it's bumper to bumper going towards Los Angeles? And you see how it's free flowing going the other way? I said, yeah, of course, Dad, I see that. He said, you don't want to be in the bumper to bumper traffic going to LA following the herd. You need to make your own way. You need to think outside the box, or you're going to be in bumper to bumper traffic for life. And that always got me thinking, like, okay, I've got to think outside the box. I have to do something else. But then I had my mother on the other shoulder, a nurse. She carried the family with her W-2 job while my dad had all his failed attempts at entrepreneurialism my whole life growing up. You need to get a job. You need to get a real job. Go be a nurse. Do something. Don't listen to your father. So I had two different people on my shoulders. Well, I went to school. I got my college degree. I got my first real job. It was terrible. I loved the job, but it was very difficult. I worked for a public relations firm in Newport Beach, and I would leave my house in the dark in the morning, drive an hour and a half in traffic, following the herd, and then I would leave an hour and a half in traffic coming home in the dark. So I missed the daylight. And I said, is this what growing up is? Was growing up, I worked so hard in elementary, right? In middle school, in high school, in college, doing extracurriculars and getting A's. To what? Yeah. To go sit in traffic and miss out on life? 3 months of that, and I quit. That was my first and only real job. I never even got benefits of any company my entire life. That was my only shot at getting benefits. And I quit. I said, I need something else. I need to listen to my dad. Sorry, Mom, but this is not it. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, and I know I'm going to want a family in the future. I know I want to be a mother. So what can I do that's going to allow me to work, make money, yet also have freedom? I decided, well, I love houses, and I've always loved houses. I would go to every open house. I would drive to every new build, no matter how far, and look at all the model homes for years. This is the early 2000s when there was the building boom, yep. Especially in Southern California. So from, Los Angeles down to San Diego, I would, and to the desert, I would look at every new model home, and I knew all the builders. So I decided I'm going to be a real estate agent. All right, I did that. But Mallory, my limiting beliefs got a hold of me. I am short. I'm 5'2", and I'm kind of petite. So when I was in my 20s, I looked like I was 14. So that was a disadvantage for me trying to sell $1 million homes to people who are 65 years old. They didn't want a 14-year-old to be the face of their $1 million+ property, which is what they cost in Orange County. So I did get some listings, and I was a buyer's agent. But that wasn't quite working out to me. What was working out was working for investors, because then I got an investor client from one of my coworkers, because investors don't care if you're green, you're blue, you're purple, you're short, you're fat, you're square. If you can bring them a deal, they will work with you. So they didn't care that I looked like I was 14. And I found my niche with real estate investors, and I would spend my hard-earned gas and time driving all over Southern California, finding foreclosures, short sales, analyzing them, etc. So I did that. Then we got a job offer. My husband got a job offer from Memphis, Tennessee. And, all Californians, everyone who's in California is listening to this, knows that they go, we have to get out of California. How are we going to get out of this mess? We got to leave. So we did the same thing. We have to leave California. We can never afford to buy a house here. Starter condos are $400,000. This is no way to live. And, it's a cement city, blah, blah, blah. So we got out, we moved to Memphis. We love Tennessee. It's beautiful. And I said, Blake, to my husband, we have to buy rental properties here because I worked with investors for several years. We're doing flips, not long-term rentals.
Mhm.
But we have to buy rentals. This is a gold mine. I looked it up online. Houses were almost free, $1, $10,000. I said, I'm going to be like Monopoly and I'm going to own every house on the block. Well, that wasn't until I drove by these houses and realized you don't want those.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Bring your bulletproof vest, your dog, and your bulletproof car. And you got to be Batman to go into these neighborhoods. So we realized quickly we weren't going to be buying those cheap ones. And I was like, dang it. But we knew we needed to invest because, again, I had at this time a 3-week-old when we moved to Memphis and a 2-year-old and a cat. And I wanted this time freedom. I still wasn't giving up on the fact that I wanted to make money, but I didn't want to trade all my time for it. So how could I do that? I didn't want my husband working forever. His dad retired at 40, and I wanted my husband to have the opportunity. So what could we do? And I knew it was real estate investing. So to end this long story quickly, we started buying one rental property a year, the old fashioned way. You save up your money, you invest. You save up your money, you invest. And, today it's not glamorous. I'm not a guy with a Lamborghini and I don't do all these fancy tricks, but we own 9 rental properties and plus our house is 10. And we bring in a full income from our rental properties every year. So we replaced my husband's income and then some in just a few years by sacrificing and not buying new cars and not going to $10,000 Disney World trips, just doing little things over the years. I've watched myself almost separate from my neighborhood friends in lifestyle, in income, in belief systems.
Mhm.
And I feel like having that early entrepreneurial mindset has allowed me to be where I am today. And you don't have to take tons of risks to get there.
I love that story. That's amazing. And I think you're right. And a lot of our listeners are going to be ones that are just starting out in real estate or just trying to figure out, what path do they take? And I think that's a really great message is that, take it slow, buy one property, and then, figure out what you can do after that. Because I think a lot of people get stuck in that analysis paralysis stage where they'll just continue to, you know, run through the numbers and never take action. But it's once you take that first action is when you really start learning and you understand things. So tell me a little bit about the first rental property that you had. What was your experience there? What were some of the learning opportunities and things that you maybe would do different for the next 7 or 8?
Well, the first hurdle, and it's usually everybody's hurdle, is where am I going to get money for a down payment
Mhm.
for a rental property? And that's 100% the question I get asked almost daily on my Instagram and my DMs is, well, how do you have all this money for rentals? And I tell people, look, my husband didn't even make 6 figures. Okay. He didn't even make $100,000. I was a stay-at-home mom. So we made it work and you can too. You don't have to be rich to start real estate. But we did move to Memphis and we bought a fixer. And when I said, okay, Blake, time to start investing, he said, well, Casey, where's this money going to come from? We just put a whole bunch down on our first house and we put, a lot more into fixing it up. And I wasn't going to take no for an answer. And so I started an Etsy shop. I said, all right, well, I got to make some money somehow. And I'm not leaving my kids to go work at Starbucks or whatever. I'm going to figure something out. So I bought one of those Cricut or Silhouette machines, like the die cutters, people will make Disney shirts or whatever.
Yeah.
And I started personalizing blanks, personalizing shirts, cups, all sorts of stuff. I made an etching machine so I could etch metal and glass. And I saved up $20,000 in a year and a half. And so it did take some time. It wasn't next day and I didn't borrow from anybody, but I used that for the down payment on our first rental property. So the biggest hurdle people have, they don't have any money. And the biggest thing I can say to them is you need to figure it out. Don't wait for someone to hand it to you. Don't say I need to go find private money. Don't say I can't or it's impossible and call scammer on everybody out there that's doing that. There is a way. So put down the Netflix, put down the glass of wine and spend that hour every night running a small business, selling a service or a product that you can sell from home. Like everyone's got something that they can sell. So do it on your free time and you'll make some money and there's your down payment. It might take 2 years like it did me, but you can do it. So that's the first hurdle. And we did something similar for the other properties. Now, after the third property, I stopped my Etsy shop because my rentals were paying me and I didn't need to do Etsy anymore. But that's the income part. As far as the rental property part, now I live in Memphis. Now, Memphis this year has now placed #1 on the most dangerous city in the country and #9 in the world.
Wow.
Number ninth most dangerous city in the world. It's the first US city on the list of the world. Memphis made it. Oh my gosh. So that being said, you have to be very careful where you invest. So people that are looking to buy rental properties, the number one thing, and everyone has heard this, location, location, location. That rings true like I can't even tell you, okay? Especially in areas where you might die on one street. In Memphis, there's a lot of old money, right? This is the South. There's a lot of very old money here, and there will be mansions, and I mean castle, like block mansions right next to our shack. And I mean a shack. I never saw poverty until I moved to Memphis. I even when I was in high school for fun in California, we would like go down to Skid Row in Los Angeles and look at the homeless people. You do that once or twice. Okay, when you're kids, you do stuff like that.
Right, right.
And you would drive through all the hood houses that were like dangerous, where the Crips and the Blood gangs are, and you're like, oh, I hope I don't get shot. Don't wear red or blue when we go. And that is nothing, nothing like Memphis poverty. So you have to be very careful where you buy, doing the right kind of research on the right neighborhoods. And I knew right away that I wanted the safest neighborhood and I want it to be in a place that I would live in too. So we bought in a B class neighborhood. There's like A, B, C, D ratings. A is luxury homes. D is, how do I say? Dangerous, ghetto, very low income
D is
neighborhoods
for
that you got to be careful.
dangerous.
D is for oh, I love that. I've been doing this for so long and I never thought of that. D is for dangerous.
C is for
Oh my God.
careful.
I love that. C is for careful. Yeah. What is B? B is for
B is for we'll have to come
you're
up with
just
a
so
B.
smart. You came up with that. I know. And A is for amazing. I don't know.
Amazing.
I
B is
limited
for
vocabulary.
beautiful, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, B is beautiful. So I wanted the B class. I wanted the starter family home. I wanted the new college grads to want to live in my properties. I wanted it to be like the trick-or-treating neighborhoods where everyone, it's just a community feel and everyone fixes up their homes. In B class neighborhoods, you have more owners than renters. And I know that that's important for appreciation and for rental appreciation. So we bought our first property there. I didn't want to buy a house that needed too much work, even though I had rehab properties before and I had worked with these flippers for several years. In California. I understood renovations, don't get me wrong. And I've learned a lot more now since then, even. But I didn't want to do too much work. It was our first house. So we bought a house pretty much rent ready. We did scrape the ceilings. I would never recommend doing that again. Scraping ceilings was a good workout, but it was a waste of time. We probably put maybe $2,000 into the house. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. We bought it for $92,500. We did a 20-year loan, which again, I wouldn't recommend now. Again, that would be a mistake that I wouldn't do again. I would always do a 30-year loan. That way you can leverage more of your money. Our interest rate, I forget what it was, but it was pretty low. So it was 2016. And again, about $2,000 worth of work. We painted and scraped the ceilings, and that was pretty much it. Put in a new toilet. That house netted us in cash flow of $450 a month. And I did self-manage because I lived nearby. The benefit and the most amazing thing to real estate, people forget, and I forgot this, was rent appreciation. This was one little like starry-eyed bonus that I did not think about until several years later. When a lot of people are analyzing properties and they're looking, well, how many houses do I need to replace my income? They'll say, well, this house is only going to give me $200 a month. Well, I'm going to need 20 houses or whatever, It's like, well, not really. Yes, if you buy all 20 houses in this year and you're trying to replace your income in this year, sure, you're going to need a lot of houses. But in my example, our first property cash flowed $400, and today it's over $900 for the one house. And the only thing we've done differently is we did put on a granite countertop at one point between tenants because, like, what the heck? It's a nicer neighborhood. Let's do something nice, make the property a little bit nicer. We put in barn doors on one of the rooms that opened to the bonus room. Okay, nothing really, nothing really. No major renovations or anything. But we have had our income go from $400 a month to $900 a month from 2016, and I didn't have to do anything. And that is that's the little miracle with real estate, is that time does its thing.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, and I think that the other big benefit outside of the rental appreciation is the property depreciation, or, we're segregating some of our value. And so tell me about, so your husband quit his W-2 when?
No, he's still there.
Oh,
He's
he's
still
still
there.
there.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
still there. He's worked from home since COVID, and
Okay.
we don't need the money, but he works with his best friend, two of it,
Oh,
his
okay.
literal best friend that they roomed in college with. So his best friend is his boss. You really can't beat that.
Yeah.
And then his other good friend, he's been at the company for 13 years. He
Oh,
really loves the people that he works with. And he sits at home and, but during COVID, they wanted him to get the shot, and he said, "I'm not, and you can fire me over it." And so they said, "Fine, you don't need it from home." Because he said, also said, "I'm not coming back to the office." So he got his wish, because you don't need the money, but they need
yeah.
you.
Right.
But yeah, so we still have his income. He likes it. We get health insurance, and
That's cool.
I do think this coming year will be his last year, though. We're ready to move on to other things, but he loves it. But I'm like, I don't want to be beholden to this house. We do a lot of vacations now, anyways. In September, now that we're homeschooling, we took the whole month of September off, and we just got in the car and left. I hate planning vacations, so I didn't have any hotel or anything. We went from Tennessee to California and back, and we have friends and family, so we did plan stays there. But the rest from Tennessee to California, and California back home to Tennessee, I had nothing planned. I want to hit some national parks, and it's wherever we stay, and whatever. And who knows when we'll be back? Who cares? Didn't care, and we just left for the whole month. And it's
Wow.
like the freedom that I have to be able to do that is it's all from real estate. Every bit of that freedom to just get up and go is because of real estate.
I love that. So are all of your rental properties in Memphis specifically?
They happen to be here because I'm here, and it's one of the top rental markets of the country. Now, my students, on the other hand, like I teach new investors how to buy their first rental property, and a lot of my students come from California or from high cost of living areas where they don't have a Memphis near them, and they do have to buy out of state. So I'll help people buy out of state and teach them how to do all that research and everything else, because that's another limiting belief people have as well. I live in Los Angeles, and there's no way that I can buy rentals. You're lucky you live in Memphis. Well, look, I
Mhm.
went to my real estate investor meeting this past summer, and someone said, even though Memphis is one of the top investment markets in the country, still 70% of real estate is owned by out-of-state investors. 70% of the investment properties are owned by out of state, even in Memphis.
Mm.
So people are investing out of area every single day, and it's definitely possible.
I love that. So are you still self-managing your properties, or did you hire a
Yeah.
property management company?
I am still managing because, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, aren't you probably a little bit of a control freak? I know I am, and no one can do it better than you can. Um, you know, I I will admit I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of it. I don't get tired of the day to day. It's just the onboarding. I'm
Yeah.
really like, oh, I don't really want to list it and take phone calls and do showings. Like, that's the part I don't want to do. I know I can hire that out,
Yeah.
but then why would I want to hire the most important part out?
Great.
I can manage the day to day. Nobody calls me all year. I'm a good landlord. Everything in my property is done. I couldn't fathom paying someone 10% to do nothing. But on the other hand, it has crossed my mind that maybe if I ever move Memphis, for sure, I will give them up, at least some of them.
Well, I mean, just from what you're saying, I just feel like you creating a property management company makes a lot of sense, especially if you're bringing out of state investors into your market, and then, they hire you to manage it because clearly they're not going to do it from out of state. And then
I
you
could too. I
team.
could. I mean, I have my California real estate broker license still. I've already, Mallory, I even several years ago when I moved here, I said, okay, I'm going to get my Tennessee license and real estate license. So I took the little extra classes that I had to take,
Mhm.
because most things transfer. I took the little extra classes. I even scheduled the test date and paid for the test, and I didn't go. And I didn't go because I didn't really want to do it. I really did not enjoy being a real estate agent. And I knew that I would just feel forced
Mhm.
to sell for people. And I hated that driving around. And I really only wanted it for myself. But I know the rules have changed this summer with real estate commissions,
Mhm.
but at the time, and even still kind of now, it's like, well, I can get my agent to for free. I'm not paying my agent, right? To now, I know the rules have changed, but still, other side still mostly paying. So it's like, well, why do I want my real estate license and it's going to cost me so much a year to hang it on someone's wall and, in an office, and I'll have to go to office meetings and I'll feel like I have to produce, and I don't want to be an agent. I don't want to do that. So I never showed up, but I know that I could still bring it over. My California license still active if I did want to start a PM company, which we have thought about it,
Yeah,
because there is a really big need for good property management companies. A
right.
lot of them are snakes. A lot of them are
Absolutely.
snakes.
Well, I think that if you found just kind of like a small brokerage shop, not like one of the big ones, and
Yeah.
just, you negotiate with them and say, we'll do an 80-20 split or 90-10 split. And basically the goal is that you don't want to sell, you want to manage. And I feel like you could
Yeah,
find somebody out there that would
I
definitely
could.
take you up on that.
And like they have the flat rate brokerages where you just pay $500 for any property sold, any transaction.
Right,
Could
right.
do that.
I
Yeah.
that's kind of, I mean, I get that vibe from you because you're really an entrepreneur, and I feel like,
Yeah.
building up your own rental portfolio, but then having students that you're coaching. And I feel once you've coached somebody, they're going to feel really comfortable and they're going to trust you, and they're going to feel like you're adding that extra value by managing the properties when they physically aren't here.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll say, like, I've coached a couple hundred students over the past few years, and it's a one-on-one program. So it's not like it's been thousands. It's, you don't have time for thousands. That wouldn't work. But only probably 5 have ever bought in Memphis. Most of them will buy out of area. A lot of them will join my program because they know I'm here in Memphis. I'm like, oh, I want to buy in Memphis. But then when I teach them how to actually evaluate a market, they go, well, maybe I don't want Memphis after all. And I'm like, that's okay. Like, you don't have to buy here because I'm here. And most times students don't, and I'm okay with that. I buy here because I'm here and it does make sense. But if I didn't live in Memphis, I probably wouldn't choose it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
whenever a new student comes in, give me kind of like the layout of how you walk them through the process of getting them, knowledge, getting them comfortable with buying their first property.
Sure. And really, this process, anyone would need to follow this process. Whether you join my program or you did it on your own. So the first thing we do is we get into financing, right? So we got to figure out what's your financial situation? What are your options for you? Not everybody has the same finances and all the things. They all can't go buy a 40-unit complex. I have some students who have $1 million in cash in their bank accounts, and I'm like, gotta put that somewhere else. But I have that, and then I have students who have 30,000. So my rule is you have to have at least $30,000 or $50,000 available somewhere to be able to deploy into a rental property, because you're going to need that for a down payment. You can get that from borrowing from your 401k, taking a HELOC on your house, cash savings, or a combo of the three things. Even using your IRA. But usually that's for older people who have a lot of money, and I don't really like to help with that because that's very complicated.
Mhm.
And you need a third party and all that. So first thing, financial situation. What can you buy? What type of investor do you want to be? Do you want to be, and now I'm being extreme here, do you want to be a slumlord? Do you want to buy properties that you never fix up because people are going to trash it? Do you want to be that person to get high cash flow today, but that means you don't get appreciation,
Mhm.
but you're going to get your cash flow today? Or do you want maybe an appreciating house that's going up in value? It does cash flow. Everything has to cash flow, but maybe it doesn't cash flow tons today. But like I said, with my house that I bought from 400 to 900 in a few years, or do you want a house like that has rent appreciation potential, and you're going to have good quality tenants who don't really mess your house up very much? So what type of investor do you want to be? Then we get right into market research. And a lot of my students, again, are from out of state. So you have to think, okay, where do I want to invest? And that is one of the biggest hurdles after where's my down payment? Where am I going to invest? Where? Because the internet, oh my gosh, is unlimited. And there is so much information. I just wish it was like back in the day. Like when you go to, we bought a new car this year. Well, new to me, it was used. And I said, all right, it took me 6 months to figure out what I wanted because I was online doing research for so long. I would
Yeah.
look at every car for sale in the country. Like,
Yeah.
why am I looking at cars in New York? I'm
Yeah.
not going to New York to get a car.
No.
Back in the day, you go to the dealership and you go, what do you got? And they got 3 cars. You get to pick one. Oh, don't you miss those days where you didn't have so many choices? Huh. So unfortunately, with the internet, and the choice is so difficult with the amount of information out there, and how do you pick what major market you're going to invest in? So I teach them and guide them on narrowing those down for what are the top 3 markets that are best for them. Once you know what your market is, your major market, like Los Angeles, Atlanta, a big city, one that's on the map, then we're going to break that down, that major city, your top choice, and find the cash flowing zip codes. Where are those golden nugget neighborhoods that cash flow and appreciate? Because you need both of the things. Where are those neighborhoods at? How to analyze properties, how to fill out a spreadsheet, where to get property tax information, and all the number stuff. My spreadsheet people love this part. Sometimes they love it too much, and I got to rein them back in and say, you're doing too much research. Time to make some decisions.
Yep, exactly.
So then we've got your market picked. We've got some zip codes and neighborhoods that cash flow. Then, and this is again the step for anybody's process, then you go build your team. You're not going to go build a team of realtors and PM property managers, in my opinion, before you know your market. Because if you do, you're leaning too much on their expertise, and you don't really know their expertise. They could just be great salespeople. They could be brand new agents. People think, oh, this old guy, he looks like he's 60. Not that that's old, but when I was 20, that was old. Now that's like, if you're not dead, then you're young. That's my because I'm over the hill. So whatever the hill now is.
Whatever the hell is, yeah.
Whatever that is, at 40 to 50, I don't know. I'm between 40 and 50. There we go. That's everybody gets it down. So now we build your team, okay? And we're going to find quality real estate agents that know how to work with investors and own investments themselves and understand the investment market, and also property managers too, how to differentiate between good and bad property managers, mom and pop companies, what do they charge, what are their responsibilities, all those things. So we build the team. Then we get to go make offers, and that's the fun part. That's the scary part. That's when everyone goes, oh, it's real now. I did all this homework, this research, and I have all this knowledge, but now I have to sign a paper and make offers. That's always like the exciting but scary part. Then it's from there. Then it's make offers, get inspections, go through their inspection reports, and make sure they're doing a good job, getting a good deal, understanding what the rehab repairs are, because you need to know that before you fully commit to the property, in case it costs too much to fix up, and you don't want to figure that out after you own it. You need to know before your inspection period's over, so you can back out, right? I mean, all this, you teach this times. So, and then you get your property closed, and then you rent it out, whether you do it yourself or you hire a property manager, and then you should be good to go. Then just rinse and repeat. Once you know the basics, you just get to repeat the process over and over. And you can expand your knowledge with creative financing techniques and all these things, but the basics remain. Good neighborhood, quality schools, appreciating property, good bones to the house, know what you're getting yourself into.
So I love it. Bread and butter, just what we need. Now, what is the general time commitment, or how long do you generally see students from the start until they're closing on their first deal?
So that depends. That depends on how fast they can move. It really depends on them. So I've had students that are in contract within 3 weeks. Like, they move quick. Yeah. And then on the other hand, I've had students take like 3 months before they're making offers. They should not be taking that long. I've done this so many times. The process is so smooth. I help with, I know where people are going to get hung up, and how to get them through the hurdles. They should not take that long. So, but yeah, I mean, really within a half a year or less, you should have closed already and have a tenant in place.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you I don't know if you're gonna have a good answer to this, but it's irrelevant. So if you weren't investing in Memphis, are there other markets that you have been kind of like eyeing up that you're like, oh, these are also gold mines, and these are things that I would look into? What are they?
Yeah. So, and I've learned all these markets from my students doing the research on them, right? That's how I've got teams of people that I trust in, like, all over the country, from good markets and bad markets, but markets that cash flow. Some of my favorite ones, I really like Montgomery, Alabama. That's one of my favorites. I have a really good team there. I really like Montgomery. It's only 5 hours from me, but that just means, and really what that means is there's no extreme weather there, right? So you're not going to be getting flood zones. There's no earthquakes. There's no tornadoes. There's no special insurance. And insurance has doubled, tripled in some places over the past year for everybody, not just rentals, not just for beach houses, but regular inland properties too have seen dramatic increases. So let's not add extra insurance.
Exactly. 100%.
So I really like that. I really like Oklahoma. Unfortunately, Oklahoma, cities in Oklahoma it's harder to cash flow there.
Okay.
But I really like that the properties are 4 bedrooms. You can get good rent. There's good quality people that live there. To me, the important part of buying real estate is it's not so much the house you're buying, but it's the people, you're buying who's taking care of your property. Because if I were to ask most people, well, who's taking care of your rental property? They're going to say, oh, property management company XYZ. And I'm like, no, they're not there every day. You know who's taking care of your property? The person who lives there. So that's the most important person. That's the most important overlooked team member, right? Is who your tenant choice is. So when I'm looking for markets, I'm looking for places that are going to have good tenants. Like, to me, that's my number one, especially after being a landlord, being burned, my fair share of mistakes. They've all come from bad tenant choices, like not doing the right things. And I didn't know how to do. I never got help or training on how to landlord. So that was a learning experience, like learn the hard way with that. But I do like Oklahoma tenants. People are good. They have a lot of foundation problems out there, and it's hard to cash flow. So you have to fix properties up. Another good, the hottest place right now is Cleveland, Ohio. That's the hottest market. I have a lot of students that buy there. Multifamily is amazing over there. It's hard to find cash flow in single family, although there's some great areas, and I have students are like die hard going to get something there. And I'm like, okay, well, here's your strategy to do that. It's harder, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And then one of my new favorite little hidden gems is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay, because Milwaukee is full of multifamily, but it's not full of single family. So single family properties rent for a premium more than you would think that they would comparatively compared to the multifamily around. So because there aren't a lot of single families, they rent for more. And they're small. I mean, I had a student buy one for, I think it was 800 square feet for a 3-bedroom. It's something tiny, and it rented for like $1,600 a month.
Wow.
And she bought it for, I forget how much it was. It was definitely under 200. Everyone has to buy everything under 200,000. And it was on the lower end. I don't know. It was last year. I forget exactly how much, but it was, I had a 1 in front, 125,000, 160. I don't know, something like that. But it cash flowed really nice. I mean, I think it was like $700 a month cash flow, and it was completely remodeled. She didn't have to do a thing to it. I know. So I like Milwaukee. Their landlord tenant rules aren't that bad, right? Another important factor is how landlord friendly. If you don't care about landlord friendliness, New Jersey, surprisingly, even with their high property taxes, New Jersey has some really great cash flowing multifamily deals, which surprised the heck out of me. But I've had a lot of students who live in New Jersey and New York, in Syracuse, and they're able to, I mean, I have one student, she's a past student now. But I think she has like 6 houses in like a year, an Airbnb, a midterm rental. She was flipping one, some long-term rentals, like all in that area, all bought within a year, all bought with, amazing prices, amazing deals. So there's a lot of good markets out there. And I love researching markets and finding new markets with my students. I'll say one area everybody always wants is Florida. And no matter how much research we do in Orlando or all these other little cities all around it, it never has worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, everything cash flows with 100% down. You want to buy $1 million house and you want a cash flow? Okay, pay cash for it. Now all you're paying is property tax and insurance, and I bet it will cash flow. So everything can cash flow, but I'm talking about traditional 25% down, which is now the traditional, not 20, 25% down traditional loan. You should get something to cash flow.
Yeah.
So it's very hard in Florida with the wind insurance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So is there a specific software that you're using with your students to analyze these, or are these just kind of tried and true? You're just digging through Zillow, you're digging through like other
I
sites.
teach them how to do it the old school way.
Love it.
Yep, no extra programs or subscriptions required. You will learn the old school way how to research and analyze markets and properties all by yourself with a computer and a calculator and a pen and paper
Love
spreadsheet.
it.
I do have a Google spreadsheet, Google Sheets.
Google Sheets. Okay. Well, and I mean, who doesn't? I mean, that's not something
Right.
that's
Yep.
going to be like an
Yep.
extra
You
add.
don't need all the things. And the thing, people want to use like the bigger pockets calculators and property analyzers and all these, but people don't even know what those things are calculating. You
Right.
don't even know. It just spits something out. And when you don't know what the information or data you're really receiving, you're not sure if you can trust it. And
Yeah.
I found this to be true. People will do it and be like, it says that, but I don't really know what it means. And so they don't take any action on anything because they don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So when you know how to the cells in the formula are there, and and just like math, I hate math. I've hated math my whole life. Thank God that real estate is just adding and subtracting. It's so easy. I did not like business calculus. I did not like any of that. But real estate is very easy to understand. It's adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, simple things. It's
Yeah.
not very hard. So if you understand how the math works, then you're able to make decisions and you're able to make offers and you're able to move forward with purchases because you get it. I didn't get business calculus. That's why I got a C the second time. I didn't get it. I didn't get what it was explaining to me. I didn't know how the math worked. I couldn't visualize what it was even doing, just
Yeah.
memorizing stuff.
Right.
I would never use any of those formulas in real life. I wouldn't know how to apply them. And that's when you're using those people's calculators and spreadsheets online, then you don't know what they are. You're not going to take their word for it because you don't know what the information is that you're getting.
How amazing would it have been if we all took a class on real estate investing instead of calculus or, you know,
No kidding. No kidding. I mean, you know what gets me, Mallory, is when I was a freshman in college, the first week, and I bet this happens to everybody, I'm sure, the credit card companies are out in full force
yes.
on the campus the first week of school, trying to get all these 18-year-olds to sign up for credit cards. Now, luckily, I knew how credit cards worked because of my parents, but not everybody did. And that is not explained in school. How do credit cards work? How does debt work?
Mhm.
How to budget do people have checkbooks? But, how to manage your money. Now, thankfully, I am seeing more and more of those classes in school curriculum,
Mhm.
but it was nowhere in the universe
Mhm.
when I was in school, and that really is a shame. And I know we were talking earlier about why am I homeschooling before we got on this.
Yeah.
I'm homeschooling now because things like that aren't being taught. Your kids need to know, and you need to know how not to take the student loan you can't pay back. I mean, you can't play dumb to that, and just a lot of things. So having that financial awareness definitely should be taught in school,
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and that's part of my mission is that I want to try to get just a financial literacy course surrounded by real estate, understanding debt, understanding mortgages, understanding, rent versus buy, and getting this into high school curriculums. And, I think you're a prime example of like somebody who's homeschooling as like, hey, this is a course or this is information that's going to actually be useful for you in the long run. And it's not something where it's like, oh yeah, I learned this random fact about this person in history and I'll never need it for anything, yet I know how
I
to
know.
run a spreadsheet, I know how to analyze numbers, and I know how to make smart investments that are going to set me
Right.
up for the future.
It's like, should I learn that? Or what is the mitochondria of a cell? Like, how much do I need to know that? I don't know. Never. And if I do want to specialize in that field, I will learn that
Learn
in
it later,
college
right?
when I'm like choosing to want to do that. Thanks for all the little info and all these different subjects. That's the thing with school is they teach a little bit of everything, but not a lot of anything. And
Exactly.
that's kind of the big issue with it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so one of the last things I like to ask my guests, do you have any book recommendations or are you reading anything that you're like, yes, if you want to get into real estate or you want to, figure some little nuances, what books are you reading?
All right. So you're going to hate my answer because I don't read any real estate or financial books.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't
I don't
necessarily
read-
have to be real estate or
okay.
financial. Like, what are you
All right.
reading?
So the books that I like to read are self-help books
Okay. I love it.
because I feel like, at least, for me, and probably most people, they're born into a class. You're born in the lower class, you're born in a middle class, you're born with a mindset, you're born with hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees and whatever, all those sorts of things that really get into our subconscious mind and create who we are. We create our limiting beliefs. Like, I never thought I would ever make $100,000. I thought $100,000 a year, was, and people could probably agree, that's a lot of money. Growing up, making 100K, like, that's the dream. Like, you want to make 100K now, obviously, that's not a lot of money. Still, though, a good, respectable income.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never thought I could make 100. Even though I went to college, I remember I only had the one real job for 3 months. I did work part-time other places, after that, but no 40-hour-a-week job with benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and did real estate, which is kind of on your own time sort of deal.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Memphis for 13 years. I guess 8 or 9 of those years, I was a stay-at-home mom until I started my coaching company. That was the hardest thing I ever did. It wasn't real estate. It was starting a business. That was the hardest thing. And to me, the way to get to the next level in your life, or the way to get unstuck and out of your belief system that's kept you where you are, it's not your boss, it's not the president, it's not the government, it's not society who's suppressing you and holding you back. You can't play victim. Okay, everything in your life is because you made it that way.
Mm-hmm.
All you, 100%. So you got a crappy life, that's your fault. I'm sorry. You can fix it, and you can fix it with your mind. So to me, to jump to the next level, to go from middle class to upper middle or whatever I may be in now, had to do with big mindset changes in internal belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
So my book recommendation is by Joseph Murphy, and it's called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Because once I realized, light bulb, that the power was within me, and I was the one that was making up my life. I said, oh, that means I can fix it. I can change it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anyone else's fault but mine. And that is an amazing, happy thing to know, because it really sucks if it's someone else's fault. But if it's your fault and you want to change it, then you can. And to me, books that open up your mind to new possibilities and take away those glass ceilings, that's what's going to get you to the next level.
Love it. Love it. Casey, thank you so much for being on the show. I love talking with you. I love your story. Where can people find out more about you, your coaching program? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Sure. So you can check my website. It's brickbybrickwealth.com. And the social media that I'm on every single day is Instagram at brickbybrickwealth. And also I put out new YouTube videos weekly, Brick by Brick Wealth, on how to get started investing in real estate.
Love it. Casey, thank you again. And for our audience, that's a wrap for this episode of Inspire Wealth. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button right below. And for those who want a more hands-on learning experience, check out our online courses at inspirewealtheducation.com. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand your investment portfolio, I've created step-by-step guides and resources to help you achieve your financial goals. So hit that subscribe button and let's start building your wealth one episode at a time.